Welcome to tonight's tribute dinner to Andrew Andy John Hope III. It's a pleasure to see all of you throughout the clan conference and especially tonight. The family wanted to do something special because the planning committee had made their decision that they wanted to dedicate this clan conference in memory of Brother Andy. I wanted to ask those family members who are in the room to just stand up. We're going to do a little bit more recognition of the family later on. But I know Christopher John Hope is here, and there's Ryan, and there's probably Felicia. Which? Taylor. Ishmael's here. Andy Four, I think, is in the room. They're going to be doing some of the serving. We're probably going to ask a few youth. Oh, there's Uncle Percy. And here's Aunt Ellen. Karen, go ahead and stand up, please. Karen Lang. Kendra, stand up. And your son, Robert, is in the room. There he is. We'll recognize more family as we go through. I wanted Gary Eddy to wave your hand. He had proudly proclaimed that he was confused with Andy and Andy was confused with him a number of times. We've adopted him. He's our brother of our family now. Peter Metcalfe is pretty busy. He's right here. We've adopted him into the Hope clan here. My brother Greg Littlefield and Sister Kathy are in the kitchen, feverishly working away. So just give them a little bit of recognition, please. I didn't want to misstep because Sandy, would you stand up for a second here? Sandy Metcalfe, she has been so active working with us since August that I officially told her that we want to adopt her if she will have us. So please give her a round of applause. We are going to have this as a program. We're going to have an opening prayer from fellow tribal chief from the interior. I will introduce him in a minute. We will also have a citation from the state legislature be presented. And any of you hungry? We are going to have a meal served to you tonight at that point. We are also going to have a pictorial music display in memory of Brother Andy. This went off really well when we had an honoring dinner here in Juneau after we had the funeral and memorial in Sitka. There was a number of people that requested that, so we put together a pictorial with some music background. And that is backed by popular demand. The family was real popular with the family. Then we will have we've added a keynote speaker. We will have 3 keynote speakers. It'll be Ellen Hope Hayes, Gil Truitt, and Joe Hotch. After that, we are going to have a poem that Ishmael is going to read, one of his dad's poems. And then after that, we will have Sharon and Dwayne wanted to be involved and do a tribute to Brother Andy with one of their acts. Also, we are going to have a poetry reading by Dick Dauenhauer, and then I requested some people from the interior who brought their drum to do one eagle song and one raven song to finish the evening. So with that, I wanted to ask you to join us in prayer with Jackie Williams, who is the clan leader from the Yunyedi Taku. Those of you who choose, would you please stand?
I just want to explain myself to you people. My great-grandfather, Billy Williams, was a leader for Taku River, and when he passed away, he handed the clan leader down to me to look after it till my time ever comes or something like that. And that's why I'm here now. And this thing in my Tlingit name is Yachgood. That's my Tlingit name that I inherited from my grandfather. And I'm here to look at the people that's here now with us. I call them my brothers and my sisters, and I call the white people my white brothers and white sisters. And I want to be even with everybody, and I respect Yahahuni, Aya Kitenya Nakati Hasu in Yah. Ja, Tlingit nachja, ach tuasiku, kitenya ja, ha kusti ja, kitenya ha kiti satan, has arti de kin kau. Tja, is kaku jis ja, ye ha jineya, ja ha kusti ja, kiten ja ha in a ha nahugut ta yewa ha qati ya khat chu ta klakawach tuasiku ta ye in ye khane kiten Tlingit nach ha litin wat Tlingit ha sati acha ach tuasiku ya ha khusti Kitenya han qati wujtin kunal chisuda hakha tnelta I adi kitenya yon qati ya ha in kitenya ha in khusti takunal chis yuda hakha kunal chis lisko has taku kunal chis. Do I have to say it in English? Yeah. Okay? Yeah.
You're good.
Hujaya takdenya in qatiya wujtin kunal cheese yuda kha kunal cheese amen. Okay. Okay.
Amen. It's my pleasure right now to call upon 3 representatives in the State House. These 3 representatives took it upon themselves to have the idea of getting a citation to Brother Andy. And the timing was perfect because they wanted to do it during the clan conference. At that time, they did not know that there was going to be a tribute dinner, and they had to work way beforehand. And I'm thankful for them to be sensitive enough to give us the opportunity to put some edits into their draft language. So it's with great pleasure that I want to introduce to you Representatives Beth Kertulla, Representative Wilson, and Representative Munoz. Please give them a warm welcome.
We're going to say a few words, and then I'll read the memoriam. Peggy?
Thank you for taking time before you eat to listen. This is very exciting. I just wanted to make a few comments about Andy. In my district covers Wrangell, Petersburg, Sitka, Pelican, Elfin Cove, Port Alexander, and Kupreanof. And Andy was really honored and well known in the area and very, very respected. And it's a privilege for me to know his brother, Gerry, and his sister, Kathy. Kathy used to work for me. And so I feel really at home around the family. And so I just want you to know that it's not just in Juneau, it's not just in Sitka, but in many places in Southeast Alaska that he is thought very highly of.
Thank you, too. It's an honor to be here in front of all of you honored guests, and very special to wish the family well on behalf of my own family, the Ingstroms and the Munozes, my mom and dad and my grandparents. So thank you very much for the opportunity to be here to honor Andy and Andy's family. Thank you.
I want to say that this was very much an effort on the part of Representative Munoz, Representative Wilson, myself, and that it's a real honor to get to read this in memoriam tonight to all of you in honor of Andy. So, in memoriam, Andrew Andy John Hope III. The 26th Alaska State Legislature joins the family and friends of Andrew John Hope III in celebrating his life and mourning his passing. Andy was born on December 23, 1949, to Andrew John Hope Jr. and Christine Littlefield. He was a grandson to former territorial State House legislator Andrew Percy Hope. Andy was of the eagle, wolf moiety, killer whale, brown bear crest, red clay house, and the child of the Kiksati, raven moiety, frog crest. And his Tlingit name was, and I can't pronounce it, I apologize, but it means, and I think this is beautiful, killer whales coming down in a wave, and stopped at the beach. He took great pride in the tradition of his Tlingit heritage and collaborated on cultural projects with some renowned Tlingit tradition bearers such as author Nora Marks Dauenhauer. In 1993, Andy founded the Sharing Our Knowledge Tlingit Tribes and Clan Conference to unite Tlingit elders and scholars to preserve, advance, and broaden Tlingit knowledge. He was the executive director of the conference until his death. He also formerly served as the regional coordinator of the Alaska Rural Systemic Initiative of the University of Alaska, the tribal enrollment officer for the Bureau of Indian Affairs, and the administrator and enrolled citizen of the Sitka Tribe of Alaska. All through his life, in every position he held, people remember Andy as being a passionate leader in tribal government, in traditional Tlingit culture, and in the efforts to strengthen Alaska Native education. He was a strong advocate for place-based education and incorporating Tlingit history and literature into public school curriculums. He produced a poster showing the complex Tlingit clans and clan house structure and co-edited a Tlingit history reference, Will the Time Ever Come?, a Tlingit source book with Tom Thornton. He also ran a publishing house, Raven's Bones, from 1979 to 1994 that focused on Tlingit culture and history. Andy was preceded in death by his father, his first wife, Anne Bodoin, and his wife, Elizabeth's sister, Goodwin Hope. He is survived by his mother, his sister and brother-in-law, Kathy and George Erikson, brothers and sisters-in-law, Gerry Hope and Vicky D'Amico, and Greg and Ellen Littlefield, his children, Christopher and Tilly Hope, Andrew Hope IV, and Ishmael Hope and his partner, Lily Hudson, stepdaughter, Violet Goodwin, and his grandchildren, Michael Hope, DJ Hatmaker, Ryan Samuelson, Jacob and Felicia Hope, and Elizabeth Hope. While he was with us, Andy enriched our communities of Juneau, Sitka, and Southeast Alaska in countless ways. As an author, educator, poet, sports organizer, public radio announcer, and tradition bearer, we will remember his dedication to Alaska as an example to others. He will be missed. It's signed by the Speaker of the House, by the President of the Senate, by myself, by Representative Wilson, and by Representative Munoz and all the others who have joined in. And on behalf of the Alaska State Legislature, we honor this great Alaskan leader. And he was a man of so many talents, and he will be sorely missed. So on behalf of the legislature, Gerry, I want to present the in memoriam.
It's with great humility, it's with great honor to be the representative of the family. We want to make sure, I wanted to bring my sister Kathy forward here just to stand with me in support. I am not sure if Brother Greg is here right now. Here's Tilly. Ryan, you want to come forward? Felicia, Chris. Is Chris here? Wanted to have him come forward. Ishmael, would like to come forward for a minute. I have to apologize, he is in the middle of serving.
Andy's right there too.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Andrew Percy Hope IV, would you come forward for just a minute, please? We want to, I was planning to originally do this toward the end, but with the representatives here and doing that, I felt that it was inappropriate for me to be the only one standing here to accept it. Steve, would you get Chris Hope and also Greg Littlefield Jr., our brother? While they're stepping forward to stand with us, it's just an incredible honor. They were not only generous enough to have a citation in honor of Brother Andy from the state legislature, but they also gave us extra copies. We have 300 copies, and I'd like to distribute those, and those of you who may not get one tonight, we have originals that we can work with and get copies. Perhaps I'll work with Harold and Central Council to get extra copies for those who would like to have. Here's Greg. Is Chris back there? Okay. Oh, Chris, come forward, please. Chris is Brother Andy's oldest, named after his grandparents Christine Littlefield and John Hope. This is us, and I want the family to thank the representatives Kertulla, Wilson, and Munoz who are standing with us. Gurakshish, Gurakshish, Gurakshish.
Food's not going to come out on its own.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. It was really, very much.
Thank you, Beth.
Such an honor.
Thank you very much. I was sorry hearing over
I also wanted to say to the planning committee of the Tlingit Tribes and Clan Conference that we're going to keep one of the originals, and we will frame it, and we will probably end up starting a a library for ourselves. So it could be on permanent display at each clan conference. While we are having a salad and then the meal, we're having a salad and rolls and the meal is being served, wanted to show you a pictorial with some music background. Now, first comment is that we have a different format, and normally we would have had 3 songs. The song that we're going to have is with Jim Pepper. Jim Pepper and Brother Andy, along with Peter Metcalfe, worked to get Jim Pepper up here. It struck Brother Andy and Peter that a Native American would step forward and be one of the first, if not the first, Native American who would fuse jazz music along with Native American music. It was just a wonderful thing. And so they worked very hard to make sure to get some concerts in Juneau and Sitka. Was there one in Anchorage? In Anchorage. But so we made sure to include Jim Pepper in the background music. We also wanted to have one of the honorary pallbearers to sing as background music. Some of you might know him as Van Morrison. But we weren't able to, through technology, get those songs up. But keep Van Morrison in your hearts and minds. But with that, I did want to give credit to Peter Metcalfe, because I worked with him along with a family on the pictures. He also had some pictures, and then also he has the technology and know-how. And with that, I don't know if we need to dim the lights. Peter, do we need to dim the lights? Okay. With that, please enjoy, and then we will pick up with the program after the meal. Kashish. I wanted to do one recognition, and then I wanted to call on Peter to go ahead and just do that as a rotation, and don't feel like you have to watch it again, but I wanted it as background and for you to go ahead and enjoy some of those pictures again, and maybe the music just a little bit quieter if we can have the sound people do that. But I wanted you to recognize Peter Metcalfe, because he has been so close to Brother Andy, and he not only did the technology part of this, but he did it with a very clean spirit and loving heart. And so I just wanted to ask you to give him a round of applause. And then we're just going to have fellowship and eat and visit right now and enjoy the meal as it gets served. And then after that, we're going to have our keynote speakers of Ellen Hope Hayes, Gil Truitt, and Joe Hotch, and the rest of the program. So without any further ado, I'd like to call on Segei Kan to say a few words. Please give him a warm welcome.
I just want to say a few words. As I was watching these pictures of Andy, it was both very gratifying, but I couldn't help it. It was sad. And I think this mixture of sadness and wonderful feelings that we're going to experience tonight. And I keep going back to summer of '79 when I first met Andy, and amazingly, it's 30 years. And I already mentioned this at the opening night of our warming of the hand ceremony, that Andy really helped me a lot when I came to Sitka. I was only 26, and he wasn't that much older, but he already had a job, a real solid job of general manager of Sitka Community Association, later known as Sitka Tribe of Alaska. And as I was just getting to know the town and thinking of what my research was going to be for my dissertation, and I was thinking about the Russian church and the Tlingit community, I went to see him, and he was very friendly and forthcoming, and he introduced me to some very important people in the Russian church who happened to be related to him through his mom and his stepfather, Greg Littlefield, who just not long before that passed away. So I owe him a lot. But more than that, he was really interested in what I was doing. And what I want to say, you're going to hear about from his family, his friends, his colleagues, and he was all of that to me. But I want to say about Andy as a true intellectual, and I'm not afraid of that word. It may not be popular among everyone in the state of Alaska or in our legislature here, but he was a true intellectual. He loved books, he loved reading, writing, and he loved books that had to do with the Tlingit people. He loved books that poetry. He loved books about history and culture of all kinds. And he had a very eclectic taste. If you had to look at his own personal library, it's a fascinating mixture of books. And the first thing that, when he learned that I was a native speaker of Russian, he said, "Oh, I got something for you. Can you translate for me some of these Russian accounts about our community here in Sitka?" And I said, "Yeah, I could do that." He said, "And we'll publish it in our little publication called NEEK." How many people remember that little brochure that he put out? And that's Andy. He was running this pretty serious operation, tribal business, tribal government, but he still found the time to publish a newsletter that had poetry and history and translations. And I think that was pretty unique, how many managers of tribal governments you can think of at that time, or any time, who also were producing literary publications. And so he published, actually my first translation ever published was Andy Hope's NEEK, and I treasure that. I still have 3 copies left in my library. A few years later, I left Alaska, and he invited me to submit a few more translations. A few years later, he produced Raven's Bones, that little book published by University of Washington Press with Sitka Community Association. There were more translations. And so, to me, that was Andy. And yet, being an intellectual, he also was into baseball, watching baseball, playing baseball. The first Sitka Community Association picnic that summer, he said, "You got to come. You meet a lot of people, play some baseball, softball." I said, "I'm a Russian, just arrived 2 years ago. I don't play those games." He said, "That's okay. Just eat and hang out." And he was just all around good guy to me. He could be tough, we know that. He had a sharp tongue. he always said it like it is or like it was. But I appreciated that as well. And if he disagreed with someone, he didn't beat around the bush. And I liked that too. And our relationship continued over the years. He was the first reviewer of my first book, Symbolic Immortality, 1989. And he published it in one of the tribal publications. And then he nominated for an award. I didn't know, I didn't think it was something that could happen, and yet he did, and I received the Before Columbus Foundation Award, which is something he was very involved with Ishmael Reed and his friends in the literary circles in minority literature and interesting people. So I actually owed that award to Andy. Later on, he nominated Dick Dauenhauer's work, and I think it was a kind of Andy Hope operation where he would nominate his favorite books by his favorite friends. And he had some very good things to say about my work, and subsequently it was reviewed in a lot of academic journals, and that was important. But Andy's review meant more because he was a Tlingit man, a Tlingit scholar. And if he said this was good work, it meant a lot. So that's how I felt. And after that, we would exchange, I would review things that he felt should be reviewed, whether they were good or bad, publications about Tlingit people or history and culture. And I asked him to write some things. And that relationship continued. And then in 1993, he invited me to Tlingit to be at the famous tribal conference. We saw some images from there, pictures that Peter took, those wonderful days we spent together in Tlingit. And that conference that really is the model that we used for 2007 and for this conference. So we didn't see each other, every year, but always meeting every few years. And then in Sitka again for 95, 97, 99 for those tribal conferences. And then there was a break in our meetings. And the last thing I want to say, in 2007, I couldn't make it to the tribal conference for personal reasons, and that was very sad for me. But we planned the conference together here in Juneau, where I spent fall of 2006. So those memories, I lived here for a month, and we'd meet pretty regularly for a cup of coffee with him, with Peter, and with Steve for a glass of beer sometime, and we'd talk. And those are the happiest days. So as I walk around Juneau this past week and I look at the few restaurants that we would meet, I just see Andy behind the glass as if he's sitting there. Especially that Greek restaurant, Zenith, Zephyr, whatever it's called. Because I have pictures of him sitting there waiting for us, and then we all gather. It's as if his spirit is there in downtown Juneau. And then the last extensive visit we had was when I helped invite him over to Dartmouth, because I thought, the one thing that Andy, he never really cared about career in a kind of sense of, major career. He cared about knowledge, he cared about his people, but, he got his master's fairly late in life, and I think he would have made a big career had his life been much longer than what God had given him. But he needed some quiet time to read and write and work on the clan conference. So we have a program at Dartmouth for tribal elders, and we define tribal elders pretty flexibly. And actually, I think a lot of people in this room would qualify. So if you want to be a tribal elder at Dartmouth for a term, and just hang out, do your own work. You don't have to do anything, but you can come for a month or two. And so I said, he's going to be 60 in a few years, and he's a great guy, and he's a scholar. So he came, and it was a modest stipend, but he got an apartment with that money, and computer, and secretarial help. And it was just wonderful to have him next door. We could talk about Tlingit stuff. And so we went out to eat and talk, and it was the best memories I had. And the first thing Andy did after he settled down, he said, "Where's the library? How do I get a library card?" And then I didn't see him for weeks because he was just buried in the stacks, because we have a terrific library. And he'd read and read and read. And I think he had a great time, I understand. And we enjoyed having him. In fact, we still get some of the mail addressed to Andy Hope, and every time I see it, it kind of hurts, you know. So, what I'm trying to say that he was a special friend, a colleague, a true mind, a big mind. And nobody's going to fill his shoes, but we're going to try. And I think all of us are trying in different ways, whether it's Gerry or Ish or all of us. And this conference is a tribute to him. The book that I'm working on based on the Clan Conference of 2007, there's going to be several tributes to Andy. I think his poems are going to be published by Ishmael Reed, I understand. So his voice is going to echo for a long time, and so that's going to make us feel better. It's going to heal the wounds that we all have. So on that note, I'm going to close. But just wanted to share with you some thoughts about this very, very interesting man that we've lost, but what we'll never forget.
Even the best laid, organized program, we get requests for additions, and this particular one I really didn't have to think about. But before I get into that addition, we wanted to recognize one more person, and this person I'll call on Peter Metcalfe to recognize. She is a special individual in her artistry and her business who had decades worth of working with Brother Andy. Peter Metcalfe.
I think most of you know how important publishing was to Andy. Music was pretty important too, and that's how he and I really came together for the first time, promoting Jim Pepper, and then doing some co-promotions where he'd do a concert in Sitka and I'd do one here in Juneau, and then that led into our decades-long relationship with publishing. He hired me at one point to do a report on the Sitka tribe of Alaska, or Sitka Community Associations as it was then known. But beginning in the late 1989, I became associated with Sue Kraft, and Sue has she designed all of the publications since that time, including Will the Time Ever Come, and probably both one of Sue's and my both challenging assignments was the traditional Tlingit country map poster. Simple as it may look, it went through many iterations and took quite a while to figure out how to get it all together. And then, just the typesetting on that was a challenge. But Sue has designed all those publications that Andy and I were involved in, and including my sister Kim's recent publication in Sisterhood, all my books having to do with search and sciatica and so on. So Sue, would you please stand up? And she was a real close colleague of Andy's, and he very much appreciated all the work she did. So I just wanted to make sure she was recognized. Thank you very much.
In the great spirit of the Native community, when you get recognized like that, you have to have a half-hour speech. So Sue, if you'd come forward, and I know you have some prepared remarks, but if you could edit them down to a half hour, it would be appreciated. The addition to the program is from Harold Jacobs. He had an idea, and so I wanted to have him share his idea and his thought. Please give Harold Jacobs a warm welcome.
In about 2 years, we'll be having another clan conference. And you all know how dedicated Andy was to a tribal college and education, and he had just received his degree. What was his degree? I can't remember. Master's degree. So what we're going to start off here is we're going to put out the money blanket. We're going to do it with calling out your father's clan's name. So when you hear your father's clan, you can dance, you can put money on this blanket, and this money is going to start a scholarship in the name of Andy Hope. So leading up to the next clan conference, there will be a scholarship available that will be awarded during the clan conference coming up in 2 years. So this is the beginning of the Andy Hope Scholarship. The song that we're going to do, Kuani Na, if you know this song, can you help me sing this song? Come up here and help me sing this. Anybody want to sing? Andy received a Bachelor of Education in Cross-Cultural Education from the University of Alaska in 1979, and as Master of Arts was Cross-Cultural Studies from the University of Alaska Fairbanks in 2005. This is Bill Martin's blanket that the money is going to be put on. Bill is also killer whale, Tsagwedi. Kuanina, kuanina, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey, hey ya, ha, hey ya, kusuwa seknachariatchi, hey, hey ya, seknachariatchi, hey, hey ya, kuanina. Tsagwediatchi, hey, hey, tsagwediatchi, hey, hey, kuanina, kuanina, hey, 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 kusuwa kagwantanyatchi, hey. Hey ya, kagwantaniatchi, hey, hey ya, kuanina, kuanina, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey, hey ya, hey ya, kusuwa keksariatchi, hey, hey ya. Keksadiatchi, hey, hey, kuanina, kuanina, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey, hey ya, kusuwa taktetaniatchi, hey, hey ya, taktetaniatchi. Hey ya, kuanina, kuanina, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, kusuwa chukanediatchi, hey, hey ya, chukanediatchi, hey, hey ya, kuanina. Deshitanyatchi, hey, hey, Deshitanyatchi, hey, hey, Koanina, Koanina, hey, 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 Kusuwa, Deshitanyatchi, hey. Yanyediatchi, hey, hey, Yanyediatchi, hey, hey, Koanina, Koanina, hey, 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 Kusuwa, Yanyediatchi, hey. Hey, Yanyediatchi, hey, hey, Koanina, Koanina, hey, 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 Kusuwa, Kukatan, Kukataniatchi, hey. Khadiyatchi, hey, hey, Khadiyatchi, hey, hey, Koanina, Koanina, hey, 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 Kusuwa, Taksoediatchi, hey. Hey, Taksoediatchi, hey, hey, Koanina, Koanina, hey, 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 Kusuwa, Nechadiatchi, hey, hey, Nechadiatchi, hey, hey, Koanina, Koanina, hey, 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 Kusuwa, white man yatchi, hey, hey, let Kaayatchi, hey, hey, Koanina, Koanina, hey, let's hit him up again. So, hey, 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 let Kaayatchi, hey, Koanina, Koanina, hey, 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 konanayatke. Hey, hey, ya, konanayatke. Hey, hey, ya, koanina, koanina. Hey, ya, hey, ya, hey, ya, hey, hey, ya, hey, ya, kusowa e shangu keidiatke. Hey, hey, ya, shangu keidiatke. Hey, hey, ya, koanina, koanina. Hey, ya, hey, ya, hey, ya, hey, 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 ya, hey, ya, kusowa e anushiyatke. Hey, hey, ya, anushiyatke. Hey, hey, ya, koanina, koanina. Hey, ya, hey, ya, hey, ya, hey, hey, ya, hey, ya, kusuwa e tekwediatke. Hey, hey, ya, koanina. Filipino yatke. Hey, hey, ya, Filipino yatke. Hey, hey, ya, koanina, koanina. Hey, ya. How about giving Harold Jacobs and the Sinners a round of applause? As you know, Andy was the regional director for the Southeast on the Alaska Rural Systemic Initiative. And as a result, he had a real strong working relationship with the Alaska Native Knowledge Network and the University of Alaska. And as a result, Ray Bernhardt wanted to make sure that in the spirit of his kinship with Brother Andy, who was his boss, wanted to send these traditional value posters. And so we have a big box of them. And what I'm going to do is just make sure that each one of you who would like a copy will get them around to you tonight. And so how about a round of applause to Alaska Native Knowledge Network. We have actually 2 keynote speakers tonight. I did mention 3, but one has a grandchild or great-grandchild that's playing in a basketball tournament tonight. And as you know, we have strong family values, and I'm just so glad that he is supportive of the little ones in his family. So Joe Hotch is the one that is very supportive of the little ones, but I know that he had a very strong, close working relationship with Brother Andy from before the first clan conference in 1993 that was held up there, and then all throughout. So we just really appreciate it. I know Joe was torn, but I think that he made the right move. And so Marcia, if you would pass that word on to him and tell him that we hope that his grandchild wins, if not in victory in the game, in spirit, in terms of competitiveness and sportsmanship. I said that particularly because Herb Diedrichson's here, and I know that it's important for him on basketball and sportsmanship too. All right, so Ellen Hope Hayes, are you ready? Ellen Hope Hayes, Aunt Ellen, has been very involved, as most of you know, in a wide range of different areas. She was National Park Superintendent, for example,
at the Sitka National Historical Park. She was the first woman that I know of that became president of the Alaska Native Brotherhood, and that happened at Sitka Camp Number 1 in the 60s. She helped organize and establish, along with her brother Herb Hope, the Southeast Alaska Indian Cultural Center. She has been involved in the national level also when it comes to regard on arts and repatriation. She has been involved in Tlingit Central Council. She has been involved in the Alaska Federation of Natives. She has applied herself to the best of her ability to show positive change in her view with the Sea Alaska Corporation and the Shiatica Corporation. And so we're just really pleased that she is able to make it tonight, and I didn't take long for her to say yes, just a quick moment when we added her to tonight's program when I asked her a couple of weeks ago. So without further ado, please help me welcome Ellen Hope Hayes.
It's a pleasure just to be in your company tonight, especially, and around the meal table and the dessert, and earlier herring eggs and seal meat and all that eating of good stuff. It just feeds your soul. And I'm happy to be with your company because we're paying tribute to Andy, who is my nephew. I feel he's still alive somehow, that he's present here. So I don't feel sad as I did before when I realized Andy at 58 years old was gone. And I continue to live, and I'm 81 years old. So you start thinking all kinds of things like that when some people leave earlier than we expected they would. I think we're all thinking of Andy in different ways, and the presentations here tonight are ways of doing that. And it's a happy feeling, it's a healthy feeling. It's goodwill to each other, and acknowledging achievements that we've made together, and the leadership many times included Andy. The conference certainly have. I'll just mention a few things that we had to learn, and Andy was learning all the time. We had to learn how to be Indian, and we started doing that about 1970. Before that, it wasn't okay to be Indian, so we were hesitant. We weren't like you are tonight, just taking part and singing and using your body motion and generating excitement. That wasn't the way we practiced being Indian some years ago. We know who we are by hearing our clan name, and then we have a chance to say who we are in a Tlingit way. These clan conferences have been leading us in some direction, and I'll mention that a little later. I'll introduce you to Andy when he was a young boy and had a brother and a sister. And we were in the Indian village, and Andy, even then, was used to being in the A&B Hall culture. He was used to members of the Alaska Native Brotherhood and the Alaska Native Sisterhood. He attended our meetings. He held office. And down the street was a building that had space available. And somehow Andy was a part of that space. He had a little shop there where he'd do his writing for his publications. And he was in charge. And he had a brother and a sister. And he treated them like members of the business. And I think they felt that. He was their brother, but he was serious about getting these publications out. And he told me about one that he was working on. And one was about the founders of the ANB. And I knew a lot more about the founders than he did. So he came to make sure that he was doing right. And he needed some money for publication. So I helped him do that. And that publication is still useful today. And that was long ago. And I want to pay tribute to his crew and his sister and Gerry, because they did a good job in that business of publication. Andy had a way of getting the job done. And if you were a part of it, that's a real sense of achievement. So that's from Auntie Ellen's point of view, watching him in the village, operating not only around the A&B Hall, but with the Sitka Community Association building, which is now Sitka Tribes of Alaska. It's hard to, I don't know if we couldn't even say goodbye to Andy yet. I feel his very presence here, and your contribution towards the tribute to Andy is very helpful. Thank you very much. And it's good to see you enjoying yourself and including a good meal. There is, as a practice with the Alaska Native Brotherhood and Sisterhood, in the process of electing officers and going through that practice, one that calls for someone in the group to give the charge. And that's what I think we can do here. All of us can set a chart and move on to the next thing for the next conference. And in particular, I'd like the youngest people here to find out and for yourself what your Tlingit history is, what your tribal history is, and do some research. When you do that research, include a good report for your own record. And as you grow old, you just keep adding more to your knowledge, but do it in written form. And then share it whenever you can. Andy isn't here to persuade us to do things like that, but the conference does. And this is a conference to find our way again. Appreciate all the work that is done by all of you so that we're ready to move ahead in a more scholarly way with more research and more papers to share and more sharing. I like the word for this conference, which is sharing our knowledge. It's a very positive thing, and we're ready to do that. So that's the charge, and I'll be glad to hear a report from you as you move along into the future. And you'll be the one who has the achievement award for doing that. This is not a keynote speech. These are remarks of the joy of having known Andy and been a part of his life. And we don't need to quit tonight. We'll think of him spiritually and share with him in spirit the joy of life and learning. Thank you.
Thank you, Auntie. I really didn't plan on having an eagle and a wolf speak, or an eagle and a raven, excuse me, but it adds balance, and it happened on its own, as though it was supposed to happen. Auntie Ellen, it's always great to have my father's side represented, as it should be, in tribute to a nephew of hers. And we really appreciate your words, Auntie, always, and especially tonight. This next gentleman had an opportunity to work with Brother Andy in a wide range of different areas, and for a number of years, the Shiata Corporation, Alaska Native Brotherhood, Sitka Camp number 1, I think Clinton Heights Central Council's worked in there. I know that there was a number of tournaments, whether it be basketball for the American Legion basketball tournament in Sitka, or the a 4th of July tournament. I remember one time Andy recruited him to do some of the announcing on the ball field, and Gil Truitt particularly took a lot of joy to make sure to always really make a lot of emphasis whoever was batter number 9. And batting 9th, Gerry Hope. He also, as you know, is an educator and writer. And because of that, I think is yet one more dimension that added the kinship between Gil Truitt and Andy Hope. And also, in addition to even all of that, he worked with our mom for many years at Monishcom High School. It seemed like anytime we went, either Andy or I went around Alaska, they would always ask, "Oh, do you know Mrs. Littlefield? Do you know Mr. Truitt?" It was always that formal. They were just it was very important to them to let Mr. Truitt know, or Mrs. Littlefield, our mom, know that I am doing good, tell them. And so Gil, to this day, has such an affinity for Monishcom and has such a heart for Monishcom that I think his email name is Mr. Edge. And I think there's a number in there someplace. But please, with no further ado, welcome Gil Truitt.
One of the problems of coming on near the end is much of what you may have planned to say has already been said. In Sitka, I usually speak last, not because they want to hear me, but by then, most everybody's gone. I think I spoke to Herbie many times because we were the only ones left at the hall. The last thing my wife said to me when I left Sitka was, "Don't bore those wonderful people with a long speech." She said, "Bore them with a short one." I had quite a struggle in deciding what can I say, what can I talk about. I thought about talking about education because that was one of Andy's interests. And of course, that was my interest. And if I had selected education, I would have talked about boarding schools and the positive impact that it has had on our people. Almost in answer to a lot of the criticism that you read and hear about today about boarding schools. But I chose instead to talk about Andy for the simple reason I have always respected that family. I do not recall when I first heard of the family name Hope. I always knew the Hope family was in Sitka because Andrew Hope, Sr., Andrew Percy Hope, well, just Andrew Hope, was the skipper of a boat owned by my two uncles, Ray and John James, who we called our uncles. One of those gentlemen, John, has a son sitting here tonight, Bert Adams, and a sister, Carol Brady. The two brothers were members of that crew with Andrew Hope as skipper. My dad was also on board, as was Dr. Walter Soboleff. Dr. Soboleff was the cook. From what we were told by members of that crew, Walter Soboleff was the best cook in Southeast. Those families, our families, dearly loved Dr. Soboleff because those families I mentioned talked about him constantly. And today, Dr. Soboleff and I talk about the same things, about the wonderful experience that he had fishing with Andrew Hope as skipper. And of course, he was saddened when tragedy struck most of that crew. And he still talks about it, Dr. Soboleff. I also knew a lot of people in Sitka and Southeast. I just knew that they existed. I wanted to talk about Andy because of that background. I never called Andy Andrew or Andy. I always called him AJ, but he always added the third. So if I said AJ, he said the third. Now, in our neighborhood were some great, great leaders. My neighborhood was by Totem Park. Much of that community is no longer there. But in the neighborhood were people like Peter Simpson, William Wells, Don and Amelia Cameron, my great-grandmother, Louis Shotridge, Ray and Liz James, Sr., the parents of Carolyn Brady. And over the years, I've always been very, very disappointed that Liz James has never received what is due because of her long experience and association with the Alaska Native Sisterhood. Others in our neighborhood were Ralph Young, John Newell, Frank Price. But in the northern end of the town, and that would be in the village, Herbie's territory, were people like Dave Howard, Lawrence Woodmark, Rudolph Walton, Lawrence Woodmark, and Ed Marsden. All great people. Someday I think I would hope that people will include a person like Andy Hope when you're talking about the great people of the past. These people I mentioned worked diligently and hard for things that we enjoy today, without pay, without credit, without praise. Especially two gentlemen, Andrew Hope and Peter Simpson. Both of those gentlemen had a long, distinguished career association with Sheldon Jackson School. In writing about these two gentlemen, Les Yaw said, all that was required with those two men was a handshake, no contract, and each did more than what he had agreed to. I had quite a few agreements with Andrew Hope III. We didn't even have to shake hands. An agreement was made. He fulfilled his agreement. Now those people I mentioned We greatly respected them. I hear today people all say, the elders taught us. I don't remember elders telling us to be respectful. I like to say we had the common sense to know that we needed to be respectful to people I mentioned. And believe me, that respect from us to them was there. And it's one of the things I see today with a lot of young people, the lack of that respect to older people, not elders, but older people, and to those in authority. And that's one thing I would like to see come back. And I'd like to repeat that somewhere down the line, I'd like to see Andy Hope remembered in that light. Can you imagine 30 Andy Hopes in our presence? That's what those gentlemen were, leaders, giants among our people. Several decades ago, a Sitka clan leader was asked by a government official, "You have observed the white man for 100 years. You have seen his wars and his scientific achievements." The clan leader nodded in agreement. The official continued, "Considering all of these events, in your opinion, where did the white man fail?" The clan leader stared at the official for over a minute and then calmly replied, "When white man discovered or found Alaska, Indian was in charge. The Indian was running Alaska. There were no taxes, no debt, no welfare, plenty of deer and game, plenty of herring, lots of herring eggs, lots of clean water. Medicine man was free. Women did all the work. They hunted, they fished, they chopped wood. Indian man spent all day playing pool and playing cards." Then the clan leader leaned back and smiled. "Only white man is dumb enough to think he can come up with a better system." I first saw Andy Hope when he was about 5 or 6 years of age. I had never seen him before. I was with his uncle Herb Hope. About that time, not too many years later, Andy Hope really became a promoter. And one of the things he promoted was a boxing match. And of course, he was the promoter, also the referee. So he lined up his brother, Jerry Gray, and Fred Sam to box the main event. They had a standing room only crowd, 10 people. Each paid 10 cents. When the bout started, Andy Hope knocked his opponent down. And Andy Hope immediately ran over and started counting, got to 3. Fred Sam jumped up immediately, furious, and he ran across the ring and butted Gerry Hope with his head. And Gerry Hope fell over, legs sticking way up. He was stunned, saw stars, didn't know where he was. He saw the referee, his brother, Andy, come running over, and Gerry expected Andy to put his arm around him and console him and just encourage him not to give up. Instead, Andy Hope started counting his brother out. Gerry was so upset, he got up and won the fight. And I might mention, of the gate receipt, Andy Hope took 98%. The two fighters got 1%. And Ellen Hope owned the contract of those two fighters. She took 75%. The next time I saw Andy was when we were deeply involved with the Brotherhood, and Ellen at that time had become a member. Herb Hope was a member. We saw Andy every week, always asking for financial help for something he was promoting. At the time, he was a student at Sheldon Jackson. He was turned down almost every meeting, but I never saw anyone more persistent, more courageous, with more tenacity than Andy. Slowly and certainly and surely, he started getting what he'd been after. And some of the things he was talking to us about was native language, culture, native history, research, especially for A and B. Eventually, these became goals that you folks now talk about. You attend workshops. You've been viewing them the last few days. It's already been mentioned the number of organizations that he belonged to. But one of the dreams of Andy was to promote Clan Conference and to see what could be printed from these conferences. Despite the generation gap between he and I don't think that made a difference, because I do not recall Andy ever speaking to me in a disrespectful manner. The respect was always there. We disagreed, but I'm always proud to say we did not raise our voices. I saw him do that with other people. He was blunt, but I think very honest in what he said. And if there's anything that you would remember about the conference this year, I will tell you a story about the Wushkitan, and I'm Wushkitan. The Wushkitan invented the toilet seat. For centuries, the Wushkitan used it. Then one day, the Kagwantan came and looked at it and cut the hole on the seat. And he didn't know what to do with it, so he just threw it away. Along came the Kiksadi. This was centuries ago. Kiksadi picked it up and looked at it and said, "What do you know? I will call this a wheel," one of the greatest inventions in world history. And he always said, don't worry about credit. Don't worry about who gets credit. Just make certain that the job gets done. He had said this many times, but there's some conflict here because Andy was always quick to give credit to people who deserved it, or to compliment, or to thank others who had done a great job. But still, he always said, I'm concerned only about getting the work done. But the way he carried himself was pretty much like what the Bible says. The Bible says it is hard to find a man or a woman who shall resent being recognized for doing something great. And he was always quick to compliment others. The Bible also said, do not hold good from those who deserve it, especially if it's within your power to act. One of the problems that we're all aware with our people is we're very slow to compliment and say you've done a nice job. Actually, it's almost the opposite. And I hate to use the word, but it appears to be jealousy. In one of the conferences like this here in Juneau, Andy Hope looked at me and he said, He asked me, will you, for the next meeting, give a report on how we can honor the memory of Peter Simpson. I agreed. So the next time we met in a gathering like this, I gave a report. One was that letters were written to the Sitka Camp, Alaska Native Brotherhood, actually twice, recommending that the A&B Hall in Sitka be named after Peter Simpson. We got no response. Another thing that was done, a new subdivision in Sitka was named, one of the streets was named the Peter Simpson Street. Another thing that was done at Andy's request was a poster honoring all the basketball teams or all the basketball players from the Sitka A&B, 1914 to 1964. It's about this big, and everybody who played those years are pictured as though they posed in one great picture. And that photo has been circulated. And that was paying respect and honor to Peter Simpson, because he started Sitka A&B basketball, 1914. You will read the date 1917. It is wrong. It was 1914. And he is credited with that in the poster I just mentioned. He also did the same thing for Sheldon Jackson basketball, for Sheldon Jackson baseball. Last election, Gerry Hope announced he was going to run for United States Senate. And someone was supposed to build a platform in Sitka. He was saved by Bob Sam. Most of you know Bob Sam. He's an old rancher, owned 600 head of cattle in Sitka, north of Sitka. He told Gerry, I'll build you a platform. So Bob Sam got in his big D8 Caterpillar and pushed tons and tons of bull manure, this high. On it he placed timbers, 4 by 12. That was the platform Gerry gave his political speech. And Gerry made this comment as he started his campaign speech. This is the first time that I have ever given a Democratic speech on a Republican platform. By now, you guess Gerry is a Democrat. Another thing that Andy had asked was to come up with a map of the village in Sitka with all the houses, plus the names of all the clan houses and the caretaker. That map was done, and it is used widely by the Sitka tribe of Alaska. I've always felt that Gerry and his brother Andy, had they pursued sports when they were younger in high school, they would have been pretty good athletes in basketball and in baseball and softball. Gerry became very interested in baseball because he read the Bible, and according to Gerry, baseball is the only sport sanctioned in the Bible. And I'm sure when I tell you the verse, you're all going to run and look at your Bibles. And if you're staying in a hotel, please don't steal that Bible. But if you steal it, you really need it, so go ahead and steal it. So look up the verse and see if Andy Hope is right. It's in the first chapter, in the very first sentence, and it starts, in the big inning. One of the It's been mentioned about my association with Mount Edgecombe High School. I shall always be grateful to Andy for the interest and help that he had with that school. When the school closed, we needed help, but had no money. And Jerry's brother was quick to respond. Sent numerous persons, Anchorage, Fairbanks, here in Juneau, Nome, and Barrow, to testify. The Sitka tribe paid for it. They also paid for thousands of envelopes, mail, cell-addressed envelopes. Thousands of them went to the alumni. And Andy had to hire many people to come in and stuff those envelopes. And I have no doubt whatsoever that that was one of the biggest things that swayed the territorial legislature in reopening the school. Another thing he did for the school and students was constantly letting the school use the Sitka Tribal Hall for dances and parties. He also furnished money for other things that students benefit by. And at no time did Andy Hope say, I'm the one. Actually, very few people are aware of what he did and what he did for Mount Edgecombe. Of course, a lot of us close to the scene know very well what he's done. I consider it a real privilege to have been a friend of Andy, despite that big gap generation-wise. So when Andy or Jerry asked if I'd say a few words about his brother, without hesitation, I said yes. And I might mention in closing, next time you go to church, when your minister says in closing, you know he's going to be talking 30 more minutes. But in closing, I did have to change, revise what I just presented because of things that have already been said. And I want to thank all of you for being a very, very kind audience. I'll see you at the next conference. Gerry, thank you.
It's always wonderful when Mr. Truitt, when Gil gets up and speaks, don't you think? Give him another round of applause. I know that when Andy passed and we had any number of ceremonies, I know we had a memorial service in Sitka, then the funeral, and then we came over here and had an honoring dinner, and then a 40-day party, an Orthodox ceremony, church ceremony 40 days later. And oftentimes people would say, oh, I feel bad for his son. But what I wanted to do, and I've been making it a real strong point since then, because I know Ishmael is sensitive to make sure that his siblings are known, that they are not forgotten. Ishmael, you already know, and he's going to be the next person to be here and read one of his dad's poems, really loves his siblings. And so we want to make sure that we introduce them to you. We had mentioned them a little bit earlier. Christopher John Hope. Chris, are you... Stand up and give him a round of applause. That's Chris. He's named after Christine Littlefield, his grandmother, and John Hope, his grandfather. And then next is Tilly. Tilly is right here. Tilly Hope. She's married after she's named after Andrew Hope's wife, Tilly Howard Hope. And at the time when Andy named her when she was just born, I thought, boy, that's an old name. But somehow it fits her, and it was the right name. The next born is Andrew Hope IV, Andrew Percy Hope. Stand, Andy. He's one of the naked boys that you saw in the picture in the bathtub. He's also the one that was clowning around with his dad's ear when they're having a serious moment to take a photograph. Thank you, Andy. It's also when I used to come to Juneau and stay at Brother Andy's, and I'd get a call. One time Peter called and he said, "Is Andy the third here?" And I had a blonde moment or something, and I said, "No, he's not." And then I hung up, and then 2 seconds later, Peter recognized it was me that was on the phone and said, "Gerry, it's your brother I want to talk to." So since then, I've made sure to say Brother Andy to separate out the other 3 Andys, aside from Brother Andy. And then next is Ishmael. I'm going to call forward Ishmael and ask him once again, because he does a wonderful job on reading a poem of his dad's. Please help me welcome Ishmael Hope.
Thank you, Uncle Gerry. I actually have a few poems, but my dad, he wrote short poems. So Gunashish, this night is so wonderful, just so wonderful and pleasant, and there are just so many people that may not get publicly acknowledged, or but I see you, I'm watching you, and many people are. So thanks to everybody. This poem's called Untitled. May 24th, 1995. On this clear spring day, eagles drift in slow circles, riding updrafts above the Mount Juneau tree line. This one's called Celebration. Celebration. I was dreaming about the celebration, even if I wasn't the featured performer, and I wasn't on the schedule. I was thinking how good looking I was. I was thinking about my fine clothes, all that regalia. The women were all attracted to me, even the married ones. Taking their compliments in stride, I was thinking I was the best dancer on the floor. This one's called David Sam's Weather Forecast. New Year's Eve, 1963. Down past the Sitka Indian Village, sledding the big S-curve on Beacon's Hill, with David Sam in the middle of a late afternoon snowstorm. David looked up at the northwest sky and told me it was going to rain. He made a final run down the hill and headed home. I continued sledding alone. A half hour later, the skies cleared. The day ended with a winter sunset. Ideal Woman Blues. My dad had this thing for this really pretty Inupiaq woman. Was she Inupiaq? I think part Inupiaq after my mom passed away. I need a Christian psychologist with a lot of issues. One who likes group therapy and does a lot of analyzing. Are you green gold or blue green? My wish is that maybe someday she'll learn the art of healing. She must have Alaska Native ancestry, intelligent and insecure, a striking beauty, independent, naive, spiritual, bitter sometimes, mean, selfish, unloving. I want a lady that says the opposite of what she really means. Now I'll close with brotherhood. Brotherhood. See, my dad had a good sense of humor, dry, and sometimes he was, I'd say, even teetering on the edge of being a curmudgeon. But ultimately, I think he was after some kind of truth, some kind of healing. Brotherhood. It starts with a quote. In brotherly love, let your feelings of deep affection for one another come to expression and regard others as more important than yourself. Romans 12:10, the New Jerusalem Bible, 1985. Come on, boys. It's all right. We know very well there's a lot of bad out there. Come on, men. It's all right. Don't despair. Come on, guys. It's a fight. Come on, brothers. Let's go to work. Come on, men. Let's take care of the children, the nieces, the nephews, the sisters, the brothers, the families, the wives and mothers, the sons and fathers. Don't be afraid to learn respect and pride. Know your ancestors. Keep the clan in mind. Come out, boys. No need to hide from that education, from that family, from your sisters, from your brothers. Keep the friendship. Keep the family. Keep the clan. Gunas Chish. Thank you so much.
How about in recognition of Andrew John Hope III, his children Chris, Tilly, Andy 4, give a thank you to Ishmael on behalf of all of them. We're going to take just a moment to clear the podium and the flowers and off the stage, because we have before you an elder couple who ran into Andy, and Andy did see one of their performances, or maybe it was two of them even. And it turned out that he just really would have enjoyed them here. And they really wanted to do a performance in honor of Brother Andy tonight. Sharon and Dwayne, let me clear the podium with Ishmael and the flowers, and then we'll get to their performance. It's very traditional when there is a blanket fundraising dance, as there was tonight, to announce the amount. And I'm just really pleased that you offered that, Harold.
As we were counting the money, I thought about this woman who was a treasurer. I won't say what ANS camp, ANB camp she was in, but she was trying her Tlingit out. This was about 40 years ago, and she gave her husband told her, be the secretary tonight. And they did everything in Tlingit. It was 50 years ago. And she said, got up and gave the amount. Yeah, Donna, what? Donna. Her husband gasped. She said the money that came walking in was $100. Then to make it worse, she said, $20 went to the bathroom. She meant to say the money that went out. Here's the beginning of the Andy Hope Scholarship. The total amount was $1,302. This will go to Dick Dauenhauer. Can you take this for the Tlingit Readers? This will be given at the next clan conference, and there will be more added to it over the next 2 years, I hope. Gnaschish.
Oh, this is where the banquet was. We're out in the hallway.
Where are you in a rush to, huh?
Hurry up, you old man.
Huh?
Hello.
Oh,
Hello, everybody. It's Grandma Suzie over here. Hello. Good to see you.
look at that. This is where everybody else is eating. Gee, they said we had to sit according to that map that Andy Hope made, so they had all the inland Tlingits sitting way in the corner out there. See?
Come on, Charlie. We're coming into this big house now.
Hello.
I want you to sing Indian song.
Oh, Indian song. Oh.
Okay.
Okay.
Hurry up, there's a Russian sneaking up on us. I'll get nervous when they come behind us.
Got my one eye on you.
Right in front of my old man too, huh?
Okay.
Okay, Indian song.
Indian song. 1 little, 2 little, 3 little Indians.
That's not the one.
Oh, which one?
We're at clan conference.
Tlingit song.
Uh-huh.
Oh, you gotta be specific.
Look.
1 little, 2 little, 3 little Tlingits.
Watch it, I'm gonna trade you in pretty soon.
Oh, I'm gonna get it now.
Entrance song.
Entrance song.
Go.
Okay. Hey, hi, hey, hey, oh, hi, hey, hi, hey, hey, oh, hi, ah, hey, hey, oh, hi, hey.
No, the cheap seats back there.
Hey, are you Raven? No? Who's Raven in the front row? Oh, I'll see you later. Hey, hey, hey,
Hey, what kind of BIA thing you got? Cheap one.
Ooh, it's like climbing a mountain. Climbing the Chilkoot Pass. Can you come give me a hand? No, the Raven woman. It's a big climb. Oh no, just give me a push. No. Lower. Oh yeah, right there. Oh, goodness cheese. Oh, look. That's my pacemaker.
Put the microphone in your pants.
Well,
next?
I gotta take advantage of my waist moving this up this high.
Hello.
Oh, laugh good. Wait till you're my age.
Hello.
I used to be
Conference.
7 feet tall.
You liar, Tlingit. Hello, clan conference. Hello, my people. Hello. Konnichiwa. Grandma Suzie, you have to suck. Deslan Khan, I have Konnichiwa. You just have to read my new sign, my clan sign says I'm a Raven clan. It's a new kind of way now. And also, my name is GrandmaSuzie.com. And it's good to be here.
Masayeti. Well, they probably don't know what I'm saying. I gotta flip it up. Wasayeti. All these coastal Tlingits looking at me, huh? Masa what? Charlie, you cut to a SOK. Or 1-900 Charlie. You can call me later. Ow. She goes to sleep about 9 and takes out her batteries so she won't hear a thing.
Early dog.
Wolf.
But it's good to be here. And I know it's a clan conference, we talk about clans, and one of our main law in the clan is you got to go opposite clan. So I'm in a Raven clan, and I pick up a old wolf here. There's the tail's a little bit down now. He's Sean.
I gotta take some pills, make my tail stand straight up.
Anyways, I used to be Suzie. She would go around to different things. I always look for a young husband. But this time I brought a sandwich to the smorgasbord, so I can't look at nothing. But I said, Sean, Suzie, I feel left out. Poor me. I don't even have an anthropologist. I'm so poor. So I'm looking for an anthropologist. So I could be a big shot too.
Someone to discover her.
Maybe a Russian one from Dartmouth. That'd be good. Sergey, I'm not broke. Look at my money on my leg here. You put some money in this garter. That's our tradition in the Yukon, and then maybe I'll consider it. I saw your fat wallet. Come on, you can't say no to elder. You should know that by now. I'm pretty sure you got trained here in Southeast.
He needs to bring along his friend, his other Russian friend, Smirnov.
All I got is $1 American. Sean. That's it. I accept, Russian money too.
It's a good thing we came to the right room this time, eh?
Oh,
When
yes.
we first came here, we were in that lineup that first night, and I was thinking, hola, there's a lot of kids going to this clan conference.
Oh, yes. And we got into the meeting and we thought, boy, coastal people are flexible. They're just flipping around everything.
Popcorn everywhere. I'm going to really have fun at this clan conference.
Clowns, everything. Boy, that was a good time until somebody said, you got the wrong meeting. They escort us away. But that was a pretty good circus.
Oh,
Here, we just thought you guys were flexible over here.
they're so nice. They're so nice down here. They give us credit card. Said nobody take it. They just laugh at me. What can I get with this? They said the top of some mountain over there. So,
Yes, it's been a good week. We had a good time here. We live in Yukon, and we want to share a little bit of our culture over there too. And like we said, a lot of times the people gather together. A lot of times it's just to trade in your husband, get a new one.
hey,
Or maybe he's gonna look around, I don't know.
I've already been looking, so.
Check, right in front of me.
You guys got binoculars down here? Huh? To see the bingo numbers when you're playing? I'm gonna teach you a moose call. I don't know if there are too many moose down here. Oh, there she is. Oh my. Just as pretty up close. Oh, I forgot the coastal Tlingit. Not too many moose down here. What else do they have down here? Oh, a dolphin. Am I saying it wrong?
I think you just got married. It was a dolphin mating sign. Woman's ears went up.
Speaking about mating.
Yes, we want to show you our Yukon-style mating dance.
Oh, no, we're not. It's not that kind of show. Cover your kids' eyes.
It's a dance, I said. Listen.
I haven't done that dance for 30 years. So.
So this is a song we sing in springtime. It's called the grouse dance. And some of you might have seen it before or even probably done it. I don't know. So we're going to show an example of it. The grouse is like a little chicken, I guess. So we're going to have all the men stand up.
Yeah, all you men. Kinde.
If somebody could bring us some heat and some water, that would be really good too.
I know there's a lot more men out there. Look between your legs. You see something, stand up.
James from Cartwright.
You need a hand? You want someone to look for you? There we go. Sheesh. Okay, all you men. Gonna make us grouse proud. You take this hand right here and you put it on your head like this. See?
Yes.
See, that's your beak. And you take your other hand and you put it right here above your bum.
Where's your bum?
Where's my bum?
It's gone.
They took it at the border. Anyways, where your bum used to be, or should be, that's your tail. That's your tail, you're shaking the lady grouse's face. Hello. Hello. Long time no see. Hello.
Hello.
And remember, men, it's not the size of your tail that counts, it's how you shake it.
Shake and bake it.
I'm ready.
Hey, cook on grouse dance, cook. You've done pretty good. Except for Peter, you didn't dance very good, Peter. That's okay, you're married, huh? That's good. Okay, all those ladies who are laughing, stand up. It's karma time.
Come on.
Stand up, ladies.
Kinde.
Come on, Clarissa, Hudson. You're gonna weave them, you're gonna dance them.
I'm not gonna bite. I can take out my teeth and just nibble. Gumyo.
All the women stand up. Clarissa, I'll come down there. I know you've been to my country, you know this dance. Come to Teslin. Okay, so now, let's see. First of all, ladies, you gotta look good. Do that. Oh yes, better already. Okay, now the next part is freestyle. You gotta put up both hands. I'm gonna only use one, so I can use this thing. You're not under arrested. Try to look good. Go like this, you could do one, or you could go hello. Or you could go hang loose. Or you could say, I need a ride to bingo. It's a freestyle, whatever you feel like doing. Okay? And then, ladies, get down. Some more, come on, you had kids.
Just heard something snap.
Oh no, I got no health care here. Okay, and now, ladies, for once, try to play hard to get, okay? Don't let any old scrappy grouse grab you. Get one with nice bright feathers. Don't get the one that's all ruffled up and dirty. Okay? Joke?
Oh, that Teslan woman, they sure know how to move over there. Almost jump up on the table.
Save it for the biking. Okay, now we're going to have a demonstration of this song. So I'm going to ask my favorite anthropologist, Sergei, to come dance with Suzie. I'll see if you're worthy. And even though I know you're married, I think I don't care. You're still going to dance. Well, where's Bill Home then? Well, you should give up your colleagues fast.
How many anthropologists do you want?
Okay.
Hey, and remember, if I don't touch her, you don't.
All right, you remember the lessons? Okay, I'm going to try to get away from you, pesky Russian. All right? Well, you try to dance good. Shake your feathers. Remember? Shake your feathers. Oh. Don't try to play any tricks on us. Academic tricks. Okay. Yeah. I thought you're a doctor. You should be a little bit smarter. Oh, you're not that kind of doctor? You can't administer medicine? Oh, not that kind of doctor. Okay.
Don't knock me off the stage.
Oh, give another hand there, Sergei. Thank you for you and everybody who has helped put this conference together, you helpers and your family. Buenos
Sheesh to Andy and all his family. He always did lots for us inland people, help recognize us and put us on that map, literally. And, it was an honor to come down here to honor his memory. And we want to do a special Dak Ka, that's what we call ourselves, the people of the inland. Dak Ka Tlingit, Kusue. You guys here? Stand up. All Dak Ka. We want you guys to come up and dance. We're going to do the Deguna Na song. We're going to sing and dance for these people, these coastal people.
You too, James.
When Grandma Rosie Johnson, Ishkidan, she taught me this song. It's, when our people moved inland from the Taku, a lot of our people down here, because we had to change the way we lived, it's cold up there and lots of moose. We had to change the way we live, so they kind of thought that we became Gunana. But this song was to remind them, remind us, no matter where we go, we're not Gunana, we're Tlingit. So this is the Thank God I'm Tlingit song. But we wanna sing and dance this for you, our coastal family, because there's no American, there's no Canadian, we're all Tlingit. Hey, I wanted to learn, I know there's different dialects, so I wanted to learn some American Tlingit before I came down, so Wasaidi, y'all. Unas cheese, partner.
We'd like to thank our family and friends who come join us. We have people from Auckland. Maybe just put your hand up and wave so they know. From Auckland. Oh, just wait. From Carcarstagish. From our home community, Deslin Kwan. And then we have our friends from Ta'an Quachan. Sheesh, thank you for coming to join us. Cook.
Okay, take one on that.
To attend conference to invite us.
Yeah, and we always come down and visit you, and now it's our turn to invite you to our home. July 22nd to 28th in Deschlesin Kwan in Teslin, Yukon. We're having our first Duck Ka, our inland Tlingit gathering. So you all come up and visit us, eh? We got a lot of single ravens and wolves up there, so.
We'll start the exchange. We also got 6 moose ready. We're gonna have trapping, storytelling, berry picking, weaving, dancing, singing, fishing, everything.
Sun.
Yeah, sunshine.
Omnigon, big bright thing in sky.
It was here earlier this week. And we're also going to have a snicking booth. We'll show you what snicking is. So how we do it in Pleasant.
$5 a snick.
We'll have both clans there. So we really want to thank you. First Cheese, Gerry, all the family.
Cheese.
Andy was our inspiration, and we thank your family. It's continuing on. I just heard his words. I'm very proud to be here. I hope you'll invite us back someday. So now we're going to sing exit song.
Exit song. Day away, gook day. Enough now, go away. You guys stay. That's us.
We hope to see you in Teslin. Come see us, Sergey. I mean, the other ones too.
Okay.
Cook. getting tired. What is sheesh? What is sheesh?
There was a gentleman that really was a big help in Anchorage. When I went to, I happened to be the one that had the honor of being Brother Andy's medical escort in July of last year, and went up to Anchorage with him. And there was a lot of things that that a medical escort that I didn't realize was kept you pretty busy. And in the true spirit of our Tlingit people, David Sam was there, and he was exceptionally helpful, not just in doing things, but just sitting with us, just being a brother. And I wanted to provide an opportunity for David Sam to speak. He asked if it would be okay to say a few words, and I thought it was exceptional for him to ask. I want you to help me with a warm welcome for David Sam.
First of all, Gerry, I know in times like these it gets so difficult, and wanted to wish the best with you and your sister and younger brother Greg and Tilly. I remember your mother way back in a program called Upward Bound with Andy. And you know, it's so good to listen and to see that goodness. And Ish, a little bit of heads up on reading that David Sam weather report, you know. But when I saw Andy in Anchorage, well, actually just before that, we were exchanging emails, and we were talking about our last year in high school and running away to Seattle. I sold my stereo to get my ticket on the airplane to fly to Seattle. And we went up and we saw, probably, this was in 1968. And well, maybe I should say it this way. From what we remember of that time, because there was a lot going on, and some of you know some of those things that were happening, some of those things that we experienced at that time. But we went to this outdoor concert, and it was a 3-day outdoor concert outside of Seattle. And we're exchanging emails about that time. And I will always remember this when I think about Andy, because he was always coming up with very good descriptions of events. And he said, "Was it real?" Because it was a 3-day concert. And this was, you got to remember, this was before the big Woodstock event on the East Coast. But we're exchanging emails about this, and I wondered why. He was asking me, was it real? We saw the Grateful Dead, we saw the Youngbloods, we saw Quicksilver, we saw a lot of groups all along the West Coast that were pretty popular, way before Woodstock. And you reminded me of this, Ish, when you were talking about David Sam's weather report, because it was continuous music. And I was telling Andy, I said, yeah, I remember waking up to the Youngbloods singing Get Together. And it was really raining. And he wrote back, and we were talking about it, and he wrote back, he said, I was telling him, yeah, I remember waking up, it was really raining. And he said, well, I remember waking up, and you were doing the sun dance, and it cleared up. But again, I wanted to say, that I think of your mother at this time. And I know that she's here also. But, I told you about how good it was to see Andy in Anchorage, because he was just like he always was. But at your time of grief in Sitka, you played a tune, and sometimes you find yourself not listening necessarily to the words. But you played a tune from, actually, and I'll speak for the pallbearer, Van Morrison. But you played a tune. And I work at the only urban native radio station in the U.S., KNBA Radio in Anchorage. We are native owned. And Andy taught me so much. He introduced me to Jim. And I remember chauffeuring Jim Pepper around in Anchorage. But I wanted to, my partner Joanne was telling me, said, you should read Van Morrison. And so as I was thinking about our experiences, you played the tune, Philosophers Stone, in Sitka. And I told you then I would never listen to Van Morrison the same again. Out on the highways and the byways all alone, I'm searching for my home. Up in the morning, out on the road, and my head is aching, and my hands are cold. And I'm looking for the silver lining in the clouds. And I'm searching for the Philosopher's Stone. I remember this, and I think about Andy, because he'd come to Anchorage, always on the road, I thought, and searching. And I think about this conference, this gathering. We're talking to Dennis Demert today, and he said, Andy always focused on the elders. I was thinking about waking up at that concert and thinking about Andy and Tilly, your mother and sister. So much searching from Andy. And I really appreciate all that you're doing. This conference, and I must say to Harold, for all the thoughts that came to mind today during that session this afternoon. Goodness cheese. Because as you mentioned, someone mentioned earlier about the peacemaking. Kunshij. Andy was that way, and Gil, Kunshij, because you spoke that he always was very respectful. And he was that way across the board. And I will always remember this conference, because one of the major thoughts for me is not just about this conference, but remembering Andy. So phenomenal. And I remember him asking, was it real? Kunshij.
Brother Andy liked a lot about writing, and it didn't matter what discipline it would become in. And so I know that Clarissa Hudson had an opportunity to have some different dialogues with Brother Andy. And most of you know that she's a weaver. I want to call on her next. She has a reading, and then after that, I want to call on Dick Dauenhauer. Dick Dauenhauer, I will say a few words in the introduction of him after we hear from Clarissa. But I know that culture was Brother Andy's passion, and writing and books was wrapped into that. And I think it was a real pleasure for him when he had opportunities to talk to Clarissa, because there is weaving that is such a strong part, an integral part of our culture. And I think, if I remember correctly from a story that she had mentioned before, she challenged her a little bit. Because not only is it the art, not only is it a reflection of a culture, but also he challenged her to put things in writing in terms of some kind of educational background or foundation. And I know that she's got a specific poem or a writing that she wants to share with us. And I'm stalling. Please give a warm welcome to Clarissa Hudson.
Yeah, hi. I just wanted to address Ellen Hope Hayes commenting about writing down our knowledge and combining that with our traditional oral history. About 3 years ago, Andy had asked me if I would teach a class at the university teaching math through weaving, through Chilkat and Raven's Tail weaving. And we were in a teleconference talking about, how we were going to put this all together. And he asked me if I had a Chilkat weaving book that would be part of the materials and supplies for the class. And I said, no, I don't have one. He goes, well, don't you have anything written down? And I said, no. He goes, you don't have any handouts? And I said, no. Because I always taught by way of oral history and demonstrating. I never handed out, pages of information. So he said, well, why don't you write something up? And I said, oh, okay. He says, you got a couple of months. Just go do it. So that's what I did, and I came up with this handbook. And I spent a couple of months going through all my notes from, 20 years of weaving and teaching. And it was a very emotional journey for me. And I just have to thank him for getting me off my duff to write this handbook on experiences in Chilkat weaving by way of Jenny Flanot and her family, and in teaching the many students that I've taught. So this poem is about, it's as if I were writing to my grandmother. My grandmother was from Huna, Mary Sarabia, and it was written a little over 20 years ago, and it's from the perspective of as if she were to come back, and what would she see at that time. And this is in honor of many of the people who at that time in my life had, seemed like a lot of people were dropping like flies. And it seems like right now there are a lot of people who are also passing. And so this is not just in honor of my grandmother and people who've passed, but those who've passed recently, especially in the last year. This is called To Her Grandmother. Say you were to come back, knocking at her painted door, a design you know as Sea Turn, or Black-Legged Kittiwake from Glacier Bay. She would welcome you in to her large, dark one-room lodge, lit by a couple of kerosene wall lamps from L.L. Bean, where at first you did not notice the smoke from the fire in the center of the room, trailing up to the smoke hole above, where White Raven tried to fly out, but became blackened forever. And you did not notice the carved alderwood mask, smiling with one gold tooth, flickering by candlelight, propped next to the cedar bark basket on that driftwood shelf to your right. And in its shadow below, the carved bentwood boxes that held her clan's button dance blankets, each made of wool bought from the House of Fabrics, with 2,115 mother-of-pearl buttons from Winona's and 649 turquoise beads bargained from the stateside Indians who sat in the sun she hardly ever got. And what about the sealskin boots parked near your feet, and the sealskin coat embellished with brass beads, feathers, and leather fringe? And the sealskin and wolf fur hat and matching mittens hanging right up next to you on brass hooks screwed into the cedar planked wall. Mind you, did you smell cedar when you walked in? For how could you miss it, with every plank and beam she's made of? And did you not see the soapstone puffin bird carved by your great-grandson when he was 9? And the small bentwood box that used to be yours, stuffed with glass beads, for the beading loom projects of your great-granddaughter? How about that Chilkat dance blanket hanging on the loom over there? Over there. In the corner, away from the mud, ashes and crumbs, the only weaving in the world where you can weave the perfect circle, therefore perfect for your style of design. And she learned it from Jenny. Yeah. Last of the traditional weavers, 2 months before she died, and they say that it takes at least a year to weave a robe, but how would you know, huh? How would you know? You didn't know how to weave, or did you? Did you, Grandma? Huh? Through clan inheritance, only a select few knew when you were around. And it was almost a dying art, they say, except the ones outside of tribal boundaries who quickly learned what they could, weaving together bits of the dangling knowledge. And she was one to help weave pieces of the heritage back so she could earn prestige, recognition, and $30,000 a robe, so she could buy pretty clothes, new shoes, new dishes and towels and computer and stereo, sewing machine, lawnmower, food processor, pasta machine. So she could buy a piece of land where her ancestors once fished to build her cedarwood home, and buy a brand new Toyota truck to haul all of her new possessions and firewood in. and then bury a septic tank for a flushing commode and install a generator for the new color TV with CD player sitting on the oak cabinet beside the stack of American Indian art books and magazines, surrounded by masks, looms, boxes, skins, beads, stones, surrounded by what she strives to make as art, what the art can sell for, what the money she makes from selling the art can buy, what the buying of anything she desires she has discovered has eventually sold pieces of her soul, where the selling of her soul has left but a faint light in her life. Say you were to come back, knocking at her painted door. You would not even notice the dim world behind her, full of smoky objects casting shadows, drifting upwards through a blackened hole. You would look into her eyes only, and know that the faint light had held on for you. And the next time you were ready, you would take her with you when you went. Thank you.
Dick Dauenhauer is a person who has had a number of years of camaraderie with Brother Andy, primarily through writing, research, and also in applying that to share, not just at conferences like this, but for eternity. And it's based on our own people, the people who are the true scholars, those who were brought up traditionally, those who speak the language, those who know about our own spirituality, those who live it, those who say that when the tide is out, the table is set. And it's with great appreciation, and after working with Dick Dauenhauer for the past year in planning this conference, that I know why he and Andy worked so well together. And are we pausing? I'm just not used to this television stuff. And so I want to ask you to join me in, excuse me, a little dry, want you to help me welcome Dick Dauenhauer.
Thank you, Gerry. Somebody asked me the other day in our session about writing, and I made the comment that sometimes you get an image for a poem and it starts there, and other times, especially this last year, writing poetry was a way with dealing with grief. So I'd like to read two poems for Andy. One of them is in 3 parts, so maybe that's 4 poems altogether. The first one I'll read is one that I wrote just the day after he died. And that was, again, a way of working through grief. And then I'll end with the one that I wrote way back in the 70s that I think was just based on images of Andy that I think you'll recognize. So this first is called Beyond Transfiguration. The reference here is to the Feast of Transfiguration, which is on the 6th of August. So Andy died right after that, and certainly in Orthodox and other Christian traditions, this is, of course, when Christ went up on the mountain and was just transfigured. So it was a promise of the eternal brilliance that potentially we all will come to face at some point. So this is Beyond Transfiguration. It's in 3 little sections. Summer was so dark. Autumnal gloom setting in again today, with all day steady rain again after a brief burst of sunlight on Transfiguration yesterday. Today I finally replace light bulbs I could do without in midsummer light that never came. Mundane things we do to occupy ourselves and fill the emptiness that comes with news of spreading sickness and the death of friends. This poem cycle grows like cancer, like candles remembering the dead. Troparia remind us the suffering of Christ was voluntary. Ours is not. But neither is our radiant rebirth, the promised covenant, eternal memory and life. And the other is much lighter. I'm trying to remember when I first met Andy, but it goes back to probably the early 70s maybe, because some of the pictures that were shown were ones I took of him way back in the early 70s. But anyhow, this is for Andy, and I used to read this whenever we would do poetry readings together. I'd always read this one to embarrass him a little bit. It's called The Ramification of Aires. Is this the crestfallen hero of the new era, the hunter and gatherer of subsistence grantsmanship? What have you done to preserve your heritage, says the man to Andrew Hope III, who replies, I slept, I fed myself, I washed my face, brushed my teeth, oral tradition. This may be the true metaphysical juice of Krishna consciousness. What do you get when you cross an eagle and a snail? That's a sleeper, you can meditate on it. Thanks a lot.
We're going to end the night. We'll do that tomorrow, Sergei. We want to honor Andy, focused on Andy. We pun intended here, on an upbeat kind of theme. We have two traditional songs. Brother Andy, as Dwayne had mentioned, never forgot the inland Tlingit. Almost like he was saying, we have our own borders. We don't need to worry about a Canadian federal government or an American federal government. But we want to recognize our tradition. And so it was really nice, Dwayne, for you to, a few times throughout this conference, including tonight, say Ganashish to Andy for remembering that our borders include the inland Tlingit from where you come. So I wanted to ask for your representative to introduce their songs. Are they out the door, or? And while he's doing that, I just wanted to say and give a little bit of recognition to Brother Andy's grandchildren, his children, his sister, and his brother, because they were the ones that were serving tonight. I have to apologize for the cell phone. It's my sister Kathy, as a matter of fact, right on cue. So, but how about giving a round of applause to Brother Andy's grandchildren, children, sister, and brother.
We want Ta'an to come up and join us. There are relatives from the Champagne-Ajac area. That's where the long ago person was found. One thing, just to mention with that long ago person, one thing that it helped remind us, because I always heard the stories about how Yanyedi, Daklawedi used to be one people. This, even science is proving our stories to be true, because all of his relatives, his Tlingit relatives, are either Yanyedi or Daklawedi. So it's even science is reaffirming our stories, our history. So in honor of that, we're going to, in honor of that, our joint heritage between Yanyedi and Daklawedi, there's a Yanyedi entrance song that we sing that thanks all of you for being here, and then thanks Mother Earth for all the gifts that she has given us. And it's thanking you as our family and thanking Mother Earth when we come back to the coast. This is our motherland that we're coming back to. So we have a lot to be thankful for. And then after we sing this one, and then Wayne will be leading a song for our Raven people. Sheesh. Hey ha hey, hey yo hi ya, hey ha hey, hey yo hi ya, ah hey hey yo hi ya, ah hey yo hi ya, hey ha hey, hey yo hi ya, hey ha hey, hey yo hi ya, ah hey hey yo hi ya, ah hey yo hi ya, hey ha hey, hey yo hi ya, hey ha hey, hey yo hi ya, ah hey hey yo hi ya, ah hey yo hi ya, hey ha hey, hey yo hi ya, hey ha hey, hey yo hi ya, ah hey yo hi ya, ah hey yo hi ya. Sheesh. Wayne Karlik, he's a Koketan, but he's Yanyedi Yadi, and he's also the one who painted this wolf on my drum. I'm gonna be, thank you. But we're gonna at our Yanyedi potlatch that we're gonna be having, I'm gonna be writing a song for him and giving it over to him at our potlatch that we'll be having. But as an honor for Wayne, I think it'll be the first time you've used a drum that you painted. So he's gonna sing a Raven song for you. Sheesh.
The song is a song from my grandmother, Antonia Jack. She should sing the song as a healing to help soothe some of the pain. When people are ill, she would help by singing the song to soothe the children. And she would sing it for us at different times when we weren't feeling well as well, from other illnesses, or not feeling good about ourselves. She would sing the song. Hia, 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 hia. Hia, hia, hia. Hia, hia, hia. Buenos dias, buenos dias.
Hello, everyone. I just confirmed with Gerry that we're allowed to do 2 more. I kind of like rocking out up here, so we're going to do one more Eagle song, and if you could honor us with another Raven song, that'd be awesome. This is a Doc Lueti song. It's a song of celebration. When our people migrated inland, they went up the Stikine River, and they came upon the glacier, and they didn't know how to get over it. It was so massive. It was back in the last ice age. They had no idea how they were going to make it through. So an old woman and an old man said, we'll sacrifice ourselves and we'll go through. And they sang one song as a cry song for themselves when they got through. But when they got to the other side, they celebrated with this song. And this song is just a celebration of life and the honoring of those people. So we'd like to honor you with this song. Tlingits up here.
In our closing, this song is done by my grandmother Eva. It's a prayer song to end our day. Kian kau honde chkwa kuhia he ani hia Gu ha to ki an kau hande chikwa gu hia ha ani e hia ha hu ha hia ha hu ha hia ha. Cheese.
We just wanted to say thank you very much for being here. That was a good song. That last one, it was a prayer song, and so we don't even have to have a closing prayer. I look at Willie Jackson over there. I've heard that song before down in Ketchikan, and the Tantaquan Tequedi sing that song. They jazz it up a little bit, though. You guys do, Willie. And so it was really interesting to hear the Inland Tlingit sing that song as well. It was great to hear it again. I wanted to give a little bit of recognition to the latest Gold Medal Hall of Famer, George Erikson, just was inducted tonight. Give him a round of applause. The keynote speaker, Gil Truitt, wrote a letter of support to those powers that be at the gold medal. And so it was really nice to see the words from Gil Truitt in support of George Erikson. This is a night of Andy Hope, and the connection is that Andy Hope and George Erikson played many years of Sitka A and B basketball together. And they had, I know George has been on a championship team or two for gold medal, primarily with the Al Duncan sponsored teams, but they won quite a few games too when Andy was part of the team. I saw Bob Paulo here earlier tonight. He was on that team. And Mike Jackson, he's still here. Give a wave, Mike. He was on that team. It was a great basketball team. Congratulations, George. Well deserved. Good night, drive safe, and we'll see more of our stuff going on tomorrow at the Clan Conference.